Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. For you are listening to Xena, Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by my diaphanous co-hosts, Katie.
You went with diaphanous.
Yeah, I did. And Livy.
Hi.
Hello.
Are you guys so excited?
I'm very excited.
So excited.
Because this week is huge. Well, it's pretty big. Double entendre time.
Way to undersell it. Oh! I think he thinks it's bigger than it is.
Yes, we are talking about Caesar, Julius Caesar. We are on 212 Destiny. That lovely music, I guess we should explain, is technically from...
It's from the movie Patton.
Which was cleverly used, like exceedingly cleverly used here, I think.
It's like a massive in-joke because Patton believed in previous lives, past lives, and he thought he was Julius Caesar in a former life. So they've decided to use Patton's theme tune to score Caesar, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
And I find that music so spooky. I haven't seen Patton, so for me, it's totally associated with Xena. And like it comes up in these like special moments in the show, and it just eventually started really like raising the hair on my arms because I was like, oh, he's coming. Like it feels like, you know, like trumpets on the march, like over a hill, like in the distance, but coming closer.
Wonderful. I completely agree. I think it's an incredible little theme, and I also did not know it was from that movie, and for sure just associate it with Caesar from Xena.
Also, you learned who Caesar was from Xena? You were telling me.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know if this is like correct to confess, because I calculated that I was like in 8th grade, sort of like when this episode aired. But I was like, I think this show taught me who Caesar was, really, because I mean, without, you know, Little Caesar's the pizza place, or
Caesar's Palace,
you know, Caesar's Palace, or like
a Caesar salad,
exactly, which he invented. Besides that, you know, I read Julius Caesar the play like only in high school, so I was like, oh my gosh, like this was the picture that I saw for this guy.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a nice picture.
I'm just gonna go out and say I love Carl Urban's performance as Caesar.
Is that the best of his 3 performances?
On this
4
show?
performances on Xena?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we can all agree. I mean, he's fun as Cupid because of the Luke, but this is like an amazing character portrayal.
It's weird because I think I had a negative reaction to it when I first saw it. I think I've come around.
Is it like just from this episode, like early stuff, and then you, as the character goes on?
I think that's part of it, yeah, is that he like presents a very kind of shallow surface. And I mean, that is the character. Like, I feel like that's very him. And it took me a while to like appreciate that this guy is a facade, and there's nothing really underneath it but desire for power, which he's pretty upfront about.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything under there.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a hard thing to make interesting. And I think you're right, that so Carl Urban actually does, and especially if you watch it over the course of the show. I think it grows on you, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you, like, how does he compare to other Caesars you have seen?
Oh, the only one I could think of that isn't like actually, you know, someone doing the Shakespeare play is what's his name? I honestly
You're
don't.
You're talking about HBO's Rome.
I don't know this actor's name. Yeah, actor who plays Caesar in HBO's Rome. Kieran Hines. Thank you.
What about the guy from Spartacus?
Oh yeah,
Fake Hemsworth brother.
Fake Hemsworth brother is very good and very much, I think, doing a Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Which
he watched Xena before he got his job.
I feel like that makes sense. Yeah. It's a lineage of Caesars from the same production peoples.
And I was reading today that the pirates who abducted Caesar, this is an actual, you know, historical, or at least Plutarch writes about it. I don't know how real this history is. It's kind of such a great story that you wonder if maybe somebody just made it up to make themselves look good.
Guys, everything that's been written down is facts.
But the pirates who held him hostage are the same pirates who eventually deal with Spartacus. So I love that there is this sort of,
this one group led by Xena.
This Renpix lineage that you have, these pirates on the 2 shows, Caesar on the 2 shows,
Well, we just jumped right in, but to properly introduce the episode, as mentioned previously, this is 212 Destiny, story by Rob Tapert, teleplay by R.J. Stewart and Steve Sears, and directed by Rob Tapert. This is his first... Hi, Rob. This is his first directorial debut, I guess, that is what directorial debut means, but whatever.
How do we think he compares to other big Xena directors?
Oh my god, I'm so excited to answer this. Can I just say I love Rob? His whole thing was that he wanted to make movies with each episode. Like, he wanted feature film quality.
And you feel that so hard in for his episodes.
Sure. And I'll allow the use of this terminology for this time period.
We're quoting him.
Yeah. I would say that if TJ Scott is the Alfonso Cuarón, then Rob Tapert is absolutely Alejandro Gonzalez.
Oh my god, he is.
So,
he doesn't look as good with a scarf.
No, he does not, unfortunately.
But explain that metaphor.
Right. So the metaphor is basically that those guys are friends, and Cuarón makes these like standard awesome movies. He does his thing. He makes really great films.
Such as
Gravity.
He loves wide shots.
He loves what?
He does. He loves doing long takes, wide shots.
Yeah,
just like TJ.
He did like Harry Potter 3.
Children of Men.
And
Tu Mama Tambien.
Right, but like Gravity is like the big thing. He won an Oscar for it. So Iñárritu also makes really good movies, but he kind of adds a little bit, like a pinch of pretentiousness to his work. just a teeny bit, tiny smooch.
So are you saying that Rob is a little pretentious?
I do think there's a little bit of, like, a little pinch of pretentiousness in his episodes. I love it.
In a good way.
But, like...
He's arty.
The artiness is what comes through, can come through, let's just say, as pretentiousness to some people. It's like, I love the falling snow and the falling, like, tree petals or whatever. Great.
And whales.
And whales. And
we'll get to that.
Amazing dissolves of tiger faces and lion faces.
Yeah. I do think he's sort of, like, into, like... I forget what you call that. They're like, two different thoughts about experimentalism in movies. And I feel like TJ is one. Like, TJ's crazy. He loves quick cuts and crazy camera stuff. And Rob is less, like, into, like, crazy camera effects and more just, like, long takes.
Right. But I think the general audience accepts, like, quick cuts, like, Born Identity style editing and whatever. Any modern action film has like 1 million cuts per action scene. People are more accepting of that than they are of like filmmakers who are like, I'm an artiste, that kind of attitude, who wear scarves, whatever. I wear scarves, but whatever.
Every single day.
Yeah,
you wear
true.
a scarf.
It's true, my neck cannot be naked.
It's 100 degrees, you're wearing a scarf.
So cold.
Did the black eye get you?
Who knows? But yeah, so like I feel like sometimes Rob's episodes come off with a little bit hint of that, but a lot of times in the commentaries he's always like, that was a mistake, and that's great because like then with time he admits that maybe that wasn't the best choice.
But also I feel like 80% of the time he'll say something like that and we'll be like, dude,
no, he goes overboard with that, and so does Lucy with her acting. I mean, they need to stop.
They're both very self-critical.
Yeah. So I thought this episode was as high quality as like a TJ episode, but in a slightly different way. It for sure felt like a movie to me.
The production values are so higher than I think even in the TJ episodes.
I agree. Completely agree.
I would have compared him, maybe this is the Iñárritu of his time, but like David Lean, one of these like big epic Lawrence of Arabia Vera. I see your confused face. But this sort of like grand epic, really like using the whole screen and like trying to just shove in as much of like a sense of like setting and place and people. Yeah. I feel like that's Rob.
I will agree with that.
Agreed.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
So the episode begins on a close-up of a skull, which is very telling immediately of how intense this episode's going to be. And Xena is in the Sira Valley.
Mm-hmm.
She's overlooking the village, and it has not been rebuilt or lived in since she burned it down.
Yeah, it's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
And it's weird because Gabrielle's like, it's beautiful.
I know.
Which I just thought was such a strange thing to say. Kind of insensitive.
Yes.
But also she's like standing right next to a skull. It just seemed like the wrong observation.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the quote, you know, because Xena's like, I gotta know why I did the things I did. Who am I, Hedwig? What am I? And I love Gabrielle's quote where she's like, you've changed, Xena, like this valley. Once it was a place full of death and violence, but now it's full of beauty and life. The same kind of change has happened to you.
Yeah, I guess that you just answered my question. Gabrielle says it's beautiful because Gabrielle sees beauty. She sees that skull. She sees the damage to this sad, burnt-out town and still says, this is beautiful. That's what she says when she looks at Xena, too.
Xena doesn't see it.
No, Xena doesn't see it.
She does not see it. So she enters Sira, and this is, like, one of my favorite moments, obviously, because you have this amazing... Like, this is set during the day. It's intercut with her memories, her flashback to the burning of Sira, which happened at night. So, like, you have the fires burning. It's, like, quick cuts.
It reminded me of Sins of the Past, the very beginning, where she's also riding through a burnt-out village and having these kind of PTSD flashbacks.
I mean, the greatest part of this is, of course, the warrior princess music, which kind of begins slowly as she enters and, you know, intensifies. And I also love that the way that he framed her on the horse mirrors the shot from the credits of, like, the warrior princess. And, of course, you see baby Callisto.
And the way they do that push-in on Callisto and then the parallel push-in on Xena, it's not, like, on tracks, I think. They just, like, walk the camera up to both of them. So it's this very sort of, like, destabilizing, like, jumpy... Yeah, it freaked me out even before I was like, oh my god, that's Callisto.
So do you think she inserted Callisto into this memory? I just don't believe she
Considering
can
Callisto
remember.
is saying the line that Xena was just saying.
Why?
It's true.
Why?
It's true. Oh, I guess it's also, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, but I think it's worth mentioning that, like, basically, if you remove the last two episodes, this one emotionally comes right after the last time we saw, you know, the body swap, basically. Mm-hmm. So she's, like, really fresh off killing Callisto.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it's not really stated that they never say Callisto in this episode, even though she appears very briefly here as a child. And I love that. I love the subtlety of the emotional continuity, that it so clearly is so significant to everything that happens, but is it just like lampshaded? It's like, here's Callisto. Remember Xena when you killed Callisto 3 episodes ago?
Right.
Like, it's just very naturally done, and props to them for that, because it's pretty sophisticated. Like, you could have just had Xena talking in a general sense, being like, oh, Gabrielle, all the terrible things I've done, so many bad things. Can't name one of them. But so many. You know, which is often how she talks about her past. And here it's so, like, focused and specific. Like, this is a symbol of every bad thing I've done, and I'm going to ride up to that exact spot and look at it. And I love that she sits there on Argo and has these memories and then just, like, runs away.
Yeah, there's too much.
It's not a breakthrough for her at all.
Well, when she gets back, Gabrielle is gone.
Oh, no.
Just her staff remains.
And the skull.
She grabs the staff via Argo's foot, like, popping it up, and discovers that there's, like, these tribal people who have kidnapped Gabrielle, maybe.
My hand is slowly
I think
reaching for a coin.
Time to put it in there.
Raising the coin. Just gonna preemptively.
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Now, they have a name, yeah?
They're the Rhodope tribe, according to the script. It's never stated on screen.
These guys are doing some sort of ritual. They're praying to some sort of deity, and
they're cannibals.
Oh.
I think.
Oh, because of all the bones.
All the bones. I guess that doesn't actually mean they're cannibals.
It might just be an outfit accoutrement.
Yeah. Okay, I'm being problematic now.
Put one for yourself. There you go. Gabrielle is tied up with a bunch of other women, I can't even remember those dudes.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just, young girls and then slightly older girls.
At least mostly women, in any case.
So, we haven't seen that since of the past, really, either. Well, I mean, she wasn't tied up, but...
Excuse me, in Ties That Bind.
Oh, yes, in Ties That Bind.
Remember
she was
the baby
tied
girls?
up. Yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. So these guys are asking for a sign, and then we have this great shot of Xena up in the trees, and she's like, their sign.
Yeah, and they're like, whoa, she's beautiful. And she, like, hops down onto this mound of human remains. They, like, ask her for word of their future.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've got only bad news. Womp womp.
Oh, classic Xena one-liner. But I thought it was interesting that when she comes down from the tree, she does, like, her war cry, but it wasn't, her war cry. It was just, like, very similar to Callisto.
Oh, wow.
She just had Callisto on the brain. That's
it seemed very like she saw that they saw her and almost did it. I feel like she was role-playing a little bit. Like, you see me as this, like, goddess coming down from the heavens. So what can I do?
You are a goddess, Xena. So she frees the slaves and she frees Gabs and they run away. And so she fights the dudes, blah, blah, blah. It's a big old fight. The significant moment is that she gets to fight the chieftain by herself. This little freaking girl, Cindy Brady style girl in her face area.
Yeah.
Who has she has like a little medallion that's significant. She keeps touching. She kind of like hides in the bushes and watches Xena.
Yeah, she seems like a little proto-Gabrielle because she's like, I like to watch.
She was not that good at acting.
No, that's true. Not a proto-Gabrielle in that sense.
She watches this whole thing, and when Xena sort of takes out the chieftain, and they're like, okay, it's safe now, she comes out, and then the guy kind of like reaches, and he already had this elaborate like tree contraption set up.
Yeah, it seems like they have a trap system in place already.
Just in that one place.
And I don't know. This is a very elaborate setup just to get Xena really injured.
Giant log to hit Xena.
Like, there's so much that doesn't need to be happening right now.
Including this log, TBH.
And the little girl.
Well,
seems like a lot of nonsense.
It's like a metaphor that doesn't really pan out. As like a Gabrielle metaphor or a Callisto metaphor. You've already seen a little blonde girl in the beginning of this. It's not quite, I don't know.
It worked a lot better in the script. I mean, Whoosh had some script changes that they mentioned, and originally Xena saw her medallion and was distracted by that. Literally distracted by the things she saw and remember from her past. And got hit by a tree.
Oh, okay.
So here she was like, I gotta save this girl! And she shoves her out of the way and gets hit by a tree.
Interesting.
I have a feeling we would have been complaining about the other way, too.
No way, Jose.
Because either way, you have Xena being hit by a tree.
Yeah, but listen, it's such a stupid thing that I'm like, if she was distracted, full-blown distracted by this thing that was like so significant from her past, I accept the tree. Also, that little girl was supposed to come out screaming, kill him, kill him.
Oh, man.
Again, I accept this.
So that would have been more better. Of a Callisto analog figure.
Anyway, she flies across the freaking screen and into another tree.
Yeah, she gets very treed.
Listen. Yeah, it's rough.
This is funny because, we had a long conversation in The Prodigal where there's this threat of being treed, which makes Gabrielle freeze. And we all complained that threat did not feel significant enough to actually make Gabrielle want to quit the Xena life.
Trees are dangerous.
So I think this is why we finally understand why she froze so badly, because trees are terrifying.
Like a giant log coming at you.
The only thing that could kill Xena is tree.
And it does.
It does.
So.
Wow. Gosh. So she is just super injured by this tree.
Yeah,
she has blood coming out of the ear.
Horrifying.
All the places.
I found it very brutal, realistic in a way that at least up through season 2, the show hasn't quite been. There are some moments where we've mentioned that it has been, but it's kind of rare.
It's starting to.
This is she's internally bleeding, and there's blood coming out of her ears and her nose and the side of her mouth, and it's scary. Yeah. And the whole thing. Let me just point out, my cute moment with
Go
Gabrielle.
for it.
There's this part where she's trying in vain to kind of to wipe away all the blood and ends up just like smearing it on her face even more and does patented soft voice acting and apologizes. She's like, I'm sorry. Like, and it's probably like she can't understand what she's saying and all this stuff too, but it's in conjunction with her like just making it worse.
Yeah. Also, the guy stabs Gabrielle in the leg.
Yeah, she got stabbed as well. That's important.
And that was really cool.
That was, because it just happens almost out of the blue.
I loved that moment.
In a way more shocking than what happens to Xena, which is more like telegraphed, like ominous, slow-mo, turn around slowly, no. But with Gabby, she's just like, wait, what?
Well, because she came over to hit the guy in the face with her staff, and like at the same time, he stabs her, and that's so much more believable than like the whole tree business.
Yeah, maybe that should have happened like 50 more times on this show.
Right? This is so believable.
Not the tree.
It happens to her in season 6.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's all good.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it does.
Next year we'll get there.
So good.
So exciting.
Anyway, Xena is like dying here, and she says the most confounding line, which is, "Only the girl can save me, Mount Nestos, take me there."
Well, I think the girl has this pendant, which reminds her of Malila, who
but what does this mean to Gabrielle?
A healer who maybe also wears stuff with that Celtic knot. I'm not sure if he also has some of that worked into his costume. But he may also be from Gaul, and in which case she sees that pendant, says that girl can point me in the direction of this healer, Nicleo,
right, and
directs Gabrielle to take her there.
Whoa.
That I can interpret dying Xena language.
Okay. The rest of this episode is structured such that we have a massive flashback where the story A takes place, and then once in a while it's intercut to show Gabrielle and her journey.
There's not very many.
Yeah.
Which I give them props for. I think the temptation would be to show a lot of Gabrielle, because it's like upping the stakes and reminding you, oh, Xena's dying. Right. And also just the sense of Gabrielle's our co-lead. Shouldn't she be in this episode more?
But this is a Gabrielle Light episode.
This is a Gabrielle Light episode, and I feel it would break the tension of the Xena and Caesar plotline, which is totally engrossing.
I agree, because whenever they did come back to them, I was like, uh-oh, go back to what I'm interested in.
Yeah, so I think that was well done on their part. I think Gabrielle must disappear for 20 minutes, but I think that was the right choice.
So, let's get to the most important part of this episode, which is our first and epic introduction to big old text on the screen that says 10 winters ago!
Oh, I've been so excited to see 10 winters ago.
Oh my god,
we've gotten glimpses.
Well, and we certainly have been just saying everything happens 10 years ago. But now it's proof that really it does.
It really does.
So along with this text, you see fires burning, an army pillaging, and this is my favorite shot that Rob did, which is like this big oneer, like pan across the screen of like, I guess a goon dragging like a guy over, and then behind him you see all this like chaos. He dumps him, and then like it's Xena's foot.
And like a bunch of gold coins.
Yeah, a bunch of gold, like a bunch of dinars, her foot, and then it's like pans up on her and her like amazing 10 years ago outfit. She's literally wearing money on herself.
She is.
She's dinars.
It's like,
shirt.
Great Gatsby, where they realize that Daisy's voice is the sound of money. Like, Xena is money.
Yeah.
Like, her outfit is money, her hair is money, her makeup is money, and her breastplate is money.
Hashtag not classy.
It's true. Yeah. I was going to say that the Trumps designed her cabin on her boat.
Oh, that's 2 in a row. We brought him up. No.
Sorry.
We gotta stop that.
It's a very striking outfit. Very, I don't know, like this is the first time obviously we're seeing it, so.
The headpiece is gorgeous. I think Nigella Dixon, the costume designer, this is really her stepping up her game in this episode. I thought all the costumes were amazing, and not just kind of beautiful to look at and not cheap looking, but they tell you a lot about the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so much. And we'll talk about that as we go along. But I would say starting off with this wonderful decadent outfit for Warlord Xena, you immediately see that this is a very successful warlord.
Right. And she, like, literally wears it on her sleeve. And I think it's a brilliant choice, I agree with you, to visualize the stage of Xena's life right now like this with the costume.
It's also not a very, like, martial costume. You know, there's not, like, a lot
Is
of...
Xena's actual outfit martial?
But at least, you know, there's some leather.
There's all her legs.
Here this looks like she's, like, hanging out.
Her legs are covered in this one. She does wear sandals.
And, like, harem pants.
Mm-hmm. They're comfortable to fight in.
Yeah. I love that she's wearing pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a rare Xena affectation.
It's always great.
So we like this outfit.
I guess so.
So, as mentioned before, the camera keeps going beyond Xena and like sort of up into the sky, into the night sky. And then the next part is another
long shot.
Another long shot, and this one I feel like it's like Rob lovingly caressing with the lens his new ship set.
Oh yeah.
Rob loves that boat more than he loves his wife.
Oh no. I was just thinking about it later. There's some good shots later.
Rob loves his wife a lot, but he loves that boat.
Yeah, so I thought it was really awesome, this image of Xena on the prow of the ship. Just like, this is her fucking boat. She's on a boat. It's hers.
I'm on a boat, yeah. It's going fast, yeah.
Not yet, soon. It's getting loaded up. But, like, it's just really, it's a powerful image.
It reminded me of, what do you call it? You know, the ladies you stick on the prow.
I absolutely loved it. The next part is a goon who is beating up on a dude. Who could this be? I don't know. He gives him a sausage, throws it on the ground.
That's not a euphemism.
No, the guy does not want it. Mm-mm. And he's like really, really cocky. Not to continue with the...
Jeez.
Not to continue
He's
with
a massive dick.
We don't know who he is yet, but Xena can tell that he's a nobleman of some sorts. Could you tell he's Roman already?
Yeah, he's wearing a Roman legionnaire outfit. Caesar is taunting this guy with lines like...
with just lines. Just lines. Like,
drawing lines in the sand.
He has so many.
Just drawing them on his leg.
But he calls him a coward. And he's
Pig.
Well, the guy calls him... Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, like... I love... this performance because I hate him so much. Like, that's what's amazing about it.
Yeah, I think is that his first line? Like, his first line is just this very casual dig.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, he is, at this point, a prisoner, and this is the way of, you know, showing that your spirit isn't captured.
Right.
This guy refuses to let these pirate captors have the last word. He has his line about a brave man dies only once, a coward dies 1,000 times, which is a paraphrasing of a Caesar line in the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar, which, in case you were at all wondering, like, who is this character? Who is this strange man in a Roman outfit? Yeah. This would be your big red flag.
Is that why so much of his dialogue is just so good? Like,
it's Shakespeare.
Well, it comes from other places.
Maybe.
I don't know.
His lines about destiny, you like those?
I think that a lot of his lines are just really clever. Like, he just stands out as an awesome character just by like the stuff that comes out of his mouth.
He does. It's hard to make a character seem intelligent, like more intelligent than everybody else. Because if you're a writer writing everybody's dialogue, it kind of seems like at the same level for everyone. But I do think Caesar's lines have a certain elevated.
He stands out.
Quality.
Like it's really awesome.
I really love his line later about greatness, like what seems impossible to other men. I'm really tempted right now to Google that and see if that's Shakespeare too. But that one didn't jump out to be as Shakespearean.
Yeah, no, it's all of his stuff is just so perfect for this guy. Like, I love his just firm attitude that, like, oh yeah, he's just gonna do all this shit. There's nothing about it. Like, that's just how it is.
White male privilege personified. Like, I love that he just walks into a room and is like, you're all gonna respect me because I'm the greatest man alive, and everyone does.
That's why there's that later episode with Caesar, Xena's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's the best fucking...
It really is so good.
Anyway.
Also, this is random, but it's kind of fun to have only watched it after he became a very famous actor. So you have that kind of element where, I mean, obviously when you're watching it and you don't know who he is, like, he stands out. But it's funny when you have that overlay. You go like, this is a very famous actor right now. So it adds this layer, I think.
Well, it makes sense, right? He's a celebrity. He's a Roman celebrity being played by a Kiwi celebrity.
Right, but not at the time, because, like, when I saw Aylmer, I was like, hey, it's Caesar, hey!
But then again, Caesar isn't famous yet, so it's kind of perfect. They're both at the cusp of greatness,
So one more thing about Caesar, I love... always. I love that they chose to do the Caesar storyline how they did, which is they charted him out and, like, we popped into certain parts of his life throughout the series.
I'm dying to talk about this because I think this episode is crazy significant in the course of the show, because I really think it is like ground zero for them setting up a long-form serialized plot for the very first time. They've had, like, character stuff that tracks continuity-wise, but that's more organic. This is setting up, here's a character who's basically the big bad of all Xena. Here's Rome, which is now going to be a significant player in every major event moving forward. I feel like this is where an actual long-form plot enters Xena. And it's done masterfully, I would say, in this episode. I love that via flashback it's introduced. So you're learning about who Xena was before she met Gabrielle, but you're also very cleverly being set up for Xena's future.
Oh.
Yeah.
This show's good, right? Right?
I think so.
I think we like it. Caesar, like, explains to Xena why he's so confident even when someone's, like, about to beat the shit out of him, and says, you know, it's because I'm know what I'm fated to do in my life. Rule the world! And this is a stupid line, but, like, I love that Xena just has, like, heart eyes.
Yeah.
She's just so instantly taken with it. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, why? Why is this so attractive to her?
I think it's the first time someone presented this idea to her that maybe she could do this too. You know what I mean? Like, she's doing her thing, right? And she, as she says herself, she's, like, kind of getting bored with it. Like, she's doing her pirate thing. She's all,
and
like...
her pirate thing is very explicitly, like... kind of limited. She says she's doing it only enemies of Amphipolis, and it's to protect her homeland.
Right, but I mean, at this point, I think it's like she's already, like, way beyond Amphipolis and still claiming that everyone's an enemy.
Look, she needs a buffer of, like, several square countries.
Correct. She's, like, in Bulgaria now. She never really thought about starting her own business, you know? She never really thought about
I feel like she
CEO.
never really thought about conquering just for the sake of conquering.
Yeah.
She's always thought she needed a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And even if her reason is no longer really her reason, she still uses it as her reason. So there's a little part of her brain that hasn't, like, clicked beyond that yet. So here's this guy who's like, well, I'm just going to take over the world. And she's like, holy shit, that is the greatest idea ever.
But I love that she says that and then is like, I want to help you do that, which is just fascinating to me. That she never says, I want to do it too. She says, I want to help you do it.
Well, as we will see throughout a few seasons, she's not quite yet at the level where she can be the true boss.
I feel like this is, you know, kind of the sexist society at work. Is that she sees this amazing man and makes a choice that I think a lot of really strong women make, which is, you know, I want to be there for this man. I can imagine my entire life just being that.
Helping
I agree, this man, and that, you know, I will be the most important person in the world by doing that.
I mean, I'm sure she sees herself as, like, helping. Like, she wanted to partner up with him. Yeah. But she didn't want to be the leader yet. No. You know?
And in fact, he even clarifies. He says, you know, and she's like, we would make an amazing team. He says, you'd like to help me take over the world. But even there, I feel like he's, like, signing, being like, not you, me.
Yeah. It's a really great idea because we are just so used to Xena's the leader of the army, Xena is the warrior princess, and we're going to see for a while that she's not.
She's actually very attracted to the role of being a partner with someone.
Yeah.
And Usually a really bad boyfriend.
Bad taste.
Her taste.
Taste in men.
But I think Caesar's the ultimate bad boyfriend. Yeah. Sorry, Boreas. I love
But he's the greatest of them all. Boreas.
Caesar is just the worst. He is the most self-centered, most egotistical, most just... Sure. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all he is. And she can't get enough of it. Mm-hmm. And it starts right here with him talking about how great he is. And she's just like, please tell me more.
She's laughing it up like a cat. It is amazing. Oh, cats. Speaking of cats, there's a lot of cats in this.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So, as previously mentioned, we're intercut with Gabrielle and her journey. She's pulling Xena... No. Argo is pulling Xena on a litter.
It would be really impressive if she was pulling it with her stabbed leg all the way. Just her.
She can do it, though.
I mean...
Yeah, with her just sheer will.
And you feel how desperate to, like, almost to please Xena she is. Like, trying to understand what she's saying. You know, Xena keeps begging for her to do this, what to Gabrielle must seem a completely ridiculous thing. Like, why here?
Yeah.
There must be other, like, medicine men and healers and other
why must you choose this, like, difficultly located little dude?
But she's loyal. She follows.
And I believe this scene is most notable to actually talk about because of Lucy Lawless's cross-eyed face acting.
Very impressive.
Xena's so out of it. It is wonderful.
So blue.
Yeah,
they're
so
blue and so crossed.
Yeah.
And Gabrielle, her arms are just like super sweaty, so maybe she was pulling her along.
I'm sure she was helping.
Yeah, you don't know.
And we're back to the good stuff.
Excuse me, that was some good stuff.
It was, but it was like a little interlude, and I want to be back on that boat, that party boat.
On a boat, yeah. It's going fast, yeah.
Yeah, it is
I've
now.
Got a nautical theme, pashmina Afghan.
Yeah.
So she's wearing
That's what she's got over her.
Earlier, she was king of the world.
Yeah, she
on
was
the boat,
king
like
of the world.
Leo. A timely reference.
Not yet. I think the tsunami is the Titanic reference.
This is still like 10 months before Titanic. They did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not timely enough yet.
So James Cameron definitely saw this episode.
Too soon.
Was like, oh my god.
I love when we discover all these things you did first.
All right. So on the boat there is a stowaway. It is a hooded figure, and the hooded figure is really good at fights.
I love the shot, the point of view shot of the stowaway's perspective of Xena pointing the sword in her face, which is great.
Spoilers, we don't know if it's a girl yet.
Oh my god, you and your like very careful reveals of information to all the listeners who have totally seen this episode already.
I think it's important to note that they see this hooded figure go about doing crazy moves, kind of like Ares being a hooded figure in The Reckoning. Oh. Doing crazy fights, doing all this impressive stuff, taking out all the guys, and then they pull down the hood, and they're literally, all of them are like, oh, it's a girl.
Which is funny, because their leader, captain, is a girl.
Well,
who's awesome at fights.
We just talked about the sexism at work.
I also think they were maybe deceived by the fact that very visibly, at one point, the hood falls off the stunty, who is a man.
Oh,
so I think all the sailors were like, oh, he's pretty good.
I didn't notice that. I guess we should point out all the cool things that this awesome girl did. I love the choreography of this. It felt like everything was happening at once, which is, I think, the point.
Good job, Rob.
Yeah.
He's great at fight scenes.
Yeah,
You know, this is like using some nice like swashbuckling boat stuff and doing it super well. Like definitely like as well as you can do boat stuff right here.
Yeah. So notable things to point out. This person can do the pinch. The pinch was down on Xena's leg. She like falls down and just like after that watches everything with like holy shit face emoji.
And yet the hard eyes are not as big as for Caesar being like, I'm gonna conquer the world. You feel like they should be extra big for this
but she's very
interested girl. Yeah.
So she does the pinch on Xena's leg, and then also that first goon that we saw,
the guy who got called a pig,
taunting Caesar with the sausage. He got the neck pinch, and I love like how Rob He does this a couple times where, like, the guy falls, like, his face is right at the camera, and it's really great. So you keep cutting back to him bleeding out of his nose while this, you know, girl is doing all of the Xena moves that we know. Like...
Flipping.
Yeah.
Real high up.
Flipping. Defying gravity. Doing the thing where you put the staff in the middle and go around in a circle, kicking everyone in the face.
And that one where she goes down the sail with her dagger isn't strictly speaking a Xena move, but I can totally see Xena doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did think it was really impressive that the way that she's captured is that Xena throws a dagger on the rope that connects the sail. So the sail falls and kind of covers her. I thought at least Xena has really good knife skills. Oh, she does the thing where she catches the dagger.
Right.
That's an important
another
Xena skill.
Yeah, so Xena throws, this girl catches.
Right. But at least it's not like Xena doesn't know anything.
No, she's clearly a very experienced fighter.
Something.
We don't get to see much of her fighting pre-meeting this mysterious stowaway, but you get the sense she's pretty damn good. The stowaway clearly has a lot of respect for her. And we can discuss, like, I mean, why did she choose to stow away on this particular ship? I feel like she chose to be there. She chose Xena. I can see you looking from a distance being like, which of these ships should I hide on? And being like, badass female captain. That's the one for me. Thanks.
I like this headcanon.
And also just the fact that, you know, non-fatal pinch on Xena, fatal pinch on other guy. So we see sort of a difference in the way this girl sees Xena.
That's interesting, yeah. I mean, I guess the men were more threatening to her.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some kind of sisterhood linking these two characters. Also, the music that plays during Malilah's fight scene is like Riverdance meets meets Xena, meets the Xena theme.
This is amazing.
Which is because she's Gaelic.
Right, yeah. So Xena's super impressed by her and basically is like, I'm gonna choose not to kill you if you give me lessons. And the girl's like, okay. But she doesn't speak English.
Right, Caesar is translating for her.
Whatever language they're speaking.
That's true. Yeah, but Caesar is translating because I guess he knows Gaelic. Because he's so interested in conquering all 3 provinces of Gaul. And it's really funny. He's sort of saying, someday I'll conquer all 3 provinces. And it totally sounds like someone like doing a presentation in front of their social studies class, pretending to be Caesar. Like, oh my God. Then I'll be stabbed.
I do like how he says that he reads her as clearly being a runaway slave, which, you know, I don't know if...
Not only that, he knows exactly where she must be from. He's got a little bit of the Sherlock Holmes deductive powers, because he's like, she's from the land of the pharaohs.
Listen, his deductive powers are so okay comparatively to how annoying the Sherlock powers are, because that is just unbelievable. His read is clever, but he's really interested in that area, so, like, I accept it. And also, slaves are being auctioned off like left and right here. And
it establishes that he's more of a man of the world. Xena, for all of her sailing around doing pirate stuff, has been very restricted to Greece, and the Aegean Sea, and he's gone beyond that. He's been to Gaul, maybe to all 3 provinces of Gaul, and probably the land of the pharaohs, too.
Yeah, but I really love that this is somebody who, you know, is originally from Egypt, but was raised in Gaul.
Yeah, it's a fascinating choice for this character, because, you know, the music associated with her is Gaelic. She's wearing, like, this Celtic knot, like, that's, like, design worked into her clothing. She speaks Gaelic. She seems to very much be culturally assimilated with Gaul, and yet she's black. Yeah. She's from Egypt, and she's sort of lost touch with her roots, and that to me is very sad and moving and an interesting aspect of this character.
Is it kind of like a metaphor for Xena, who's slowly losing touch with her roots?
There's something there. I mean, you know, I feel like Xena's a bit of an outsider, like always, and her name means stranger.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are 2 strangers. Malilah's been a stranger all her life in Gaul, and Xena is kind of an outsider on the ship, kind of living outside of society completely. I do think there's some kind of kinship there in their histories.
I just think it's a really cool, believable for the world building kind of thing, just because you would think there would be a lot of that. A lot of transplanted people, just because of how the slave trade works.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's just a nice specificity to it. If she'd just been Egyptian or been a white person from Gaul, you'd been like, oh, okay, it's like that character. it's like the mystical Celt.
Or I think she's on Hercules. The mystical Celt.
Yeah. So I feel like this kind of mixes cultures in a way where you can't quite pin it down. It becomes this kind of very specific character-based person, which I think is a great way of not, falling into a stereotype.
Strong choice. So Caesar has the first of his many lines with episode title in it, where he goes, "Each event in our life is part of a great plan. There are no accidents, only destiny."
Episode title.
He talks about destiny a lot.
That's what I mean. It's the first time. But Xena's so into it.
I love that her clarifying question is, who shapes our destinies? The gods? Like her first thought is always like the gods.
Yeah.
It says a lot about her upbringing, what she's used to.
Yeah.
She understands that, if someone's talking about destiny, that means handed down from on high. The idea that you can make your own destiny is a foreign concept to her.
But she's like, your destiny is to have dinner with me tonight.
No. This is one of the better lines, I think, because it's such a line, and he kind of recognizes it as a line. Like, I like when they're called out when he's like, oh, you do lines.
I do lines as well.
We are meant to be. I kind of like that she's also, really bad at the suave flirting.
Which is funny, because then later she, puts herself forward as the queen of conquest. And it's like, oh, do you always do a line on them and then invite them back to your tiger room? And then wear a red dress? You're so original.
There's a really great detail before we get to the tiger room of her men tossing that goon overboard.
This is the sort of wonderful little detail that I think Rob is really good at, establishing that sense of place, that sense of being on a boat. And
those people.
Yeah, who are they? Yeah, they don't...
Get us, this is their dude, their crewmate, and they're tossing him overboard because he's dead, but they're, laughing about it. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's really fascinating.
No, it
and
tells you so much.
And a completely unnecessary moment, but it just elevates the episode, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So now we have Malila and Xena in the hold, right?
Yes.
Yes, for her lesson.
Sexy lesson. I think so. I think it's interesting that you have Xena arranging for an assignation with Caesar in her cabin, but then goes to the hold and has a different sex scene with Malila.
It's very flirty.
It's very flirty. Yeah. And it's, the part where, Xena's like, where do I touch? Where is it good? Where do you like it? That was legit. The dialogue, basically, in this moment.
I can play too.
Right. Yeah.
I think you can really see all the details of her costume here, too, for the first time really well, which is
Xena Warrior Princess t-shirt you can get on Etsy.
I would love it.
So good. And I feel like part of the problem here is that the actress playing Malila wears it really well. She just looks really hip in it. I feel like probably the costume designer was like, oh, sort of a sack. A thing a runaway slave might wear. Yeah. And on her it looks hip. It looks really cool.
Oh yeah, and the armbands, the breastplate design.
Yeah, all of it, Xena stole.
Yeah, stole or homaged. What's the difference?
Yeah.
We don't, the questions.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Right, so she's getting her lessons here, and she picks it up I guess it's really fucking easy to learn the pinch.
For Xena,
this is what we learned from this show, I think.
Really?
I feel like somebody else picks it up real fast, too.
Gabrielle tried it in the bar a couple episodes ago.
She just didn't get a proper lesson. You need to be pointed to exactly where to do it.
once you're shown where it is, it's not that you just gotta get the right thing.
It's not rocket science, guys.
Just press in the right place. I was hoping when Xena was going to ask Malila to put it on her over and over again, and that would be the way she learned. And maybe that's implied, and they just don't want to show that on screen. But I was like, that is hardcore to have the blood cut off to your brain over and over again until you've mastered a skill.
But I feel like you would learn better if you were doing it instead of just having it. She's
Yeah,
not
which
learning
is-
to overcome
it's
it. She's learning
But I love
to
that, yeah,
do
Xena
it.
actually first learns it via suffering through its effects before putting it on
Yeah.
someone else. I thought that was just a really interesting way of dramatizing, the learning process for this. And I love the kind of the power dynamics of it, that she goes to this person who's sort of under her power, a prisoner, and says, like, put this fatal move on me.
Yeah.
And there's trust being built, like, before our eyes. Like, she trusts Malila not to kill her, and Malila doesn't. And then Malila trusts Xena not to kill her, and Xena doesn't. But she does steal her jewelry, which is not okay.
No.
So yeah, talking about Xena appropriating her costume as well as her fighting style. Xena literally does it before our eyes. She's like, that's mine now. Yeah. Yoink.
This is one of my favorite Xena character attributes, I think, also, is that throughout the series we see her, whenever she sees something cool, she's always like, how do you do that? You gotta tell me. It's really cool.
She's greedy. I mean, sometimes she's greedy for actual money, as she is here in this episode. Though it seems like she's almost doing it just because she knows that's what you're supposed to do as a pirate. It doesn't really seem to hold all that much appeal to her.
Maybe Gabrielle would have been a good pirate because she loves money so much.
Gabrielle would have known that Caesar was worth, like, X amount that he wanted to be worth. Xena, like, totally undersold him.
Oh, for sure.
Can we talk about the tiger bedroom now?
Yes.
It's time for the kitty cats.
So, okay, there is this shot. It's an amazing tableau of Xena still in her previous outfit that she's wearing for the scene with Malila, like lounging on a lion skin with big ol' lion head in the foreground, just sort of like swinging the stolen pendant back and forth, contemplating Caesar. And how do we know she's contemplating Caesar? Because there's like a slow dissolve to face of Caesar, and then a slow dissolve to lion face that looks just like him.
Rob! It's important to point out that this is a adolescent lion male that she's laying upon. So, just like Caesar.
Yeah, a young lion. But she's lying on him.
No, please. Oh, I liked it.
And then Caesar enters the chamber, and time has passed, and you see another amazing reveal of now Xena not on the lion, instead on the tiger. She also has a tiger rug, like, directly to the right of the lion rug. And
who decorated this place?
She's lying on the tiger.
Hashtag not classy.
And she's wearing this red dress with legs exposed.
Oh, this dress is
it's
good.
A gorgeous look. Her hair is up. She's wearing like elaborate earrings and headband situation.
Yeah, it is.
This looked more Greek than her pirate costume from before, which had a more like Oriental quality. Maybe like Asia Minor is where she picked that one up. But this one she got from Stygira.
Excuse me, I think she sewed it herself with her many skills.
Oh, the pirate outfit she sewed.
For sure. Every single coin she put on there
herself.
Yeah,
she super glued them together.
Yeah.
This is my money hat.
No, but her red dress, she tells Caesar, is plunder from Stygira. He knows it's plunder. I guess he knows that all of her clothing is plunder. Sorry, Vera.
No! My head canon.
And the only fact I know about Stygira is that Aristotle was born there.
Oh.
Cool. Cool story.
And he thinks that there's not enough material.
I feel like Caesar just did that for the line, not because it actually was a skimpy dress.
It seemed fine.
He did it for the lion?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
It was very leggy, I suppose.
Yeah.
Road.
Can we talk about the blocking of this shot?
We can talk about anything.
Well, they are facing the room.
Like big cats in an enclosure.
Yep. They're sizing one another up.
Two predators.
Yep.
Man-eaters.
Uh-huh. Rob. Good one, Rob.
Also, I should note that Xena's red and gold ensemble does kind of mimic Caesar's costuming, which is also red and kind of light-colored leather.
Yeah, the Centurion red, yeah. His final look is, I guess you could say, closer to her pirate look, which is gold-plated.
I think that, again, a good job, Nigella, because I think that's very deliberate. That eventually you see his true colors and he looks just like her. He's made of money.
I feel like it belongs more on him. You know, like she's doing it for pretend, you know. Like
she's like
legit.
playing dress up, whereas that is his breastplate. Yeah.
How about that line about greatness?
Yeah, there it is. We finally reached the line about greatness that I think is actually a really nice line. Greatness isn't just about possessing power. Greatness is about achieving what seems impossible to other men.
And he calls Xena a thug, basically.
Yeah, but she just has some dudes following her, and it doesn't mean anything. But what I love about this is, we think about Xena now. Xena is not a commander of men, and she's always doing things that seem impossible to other people. That's like her whole calling in life, I feel, in this new phase of her career. And yeah, I feel like this is her destiny in some ways. Not in the way, she's not going to do what Caesar does, but in her own way, she is doing what's impossible for other people.
I guess you're supposed to really...
Caesar is an actual thug.
Correct. He's a bad man.
He is great because other people follow him because he's convinced them that he's great. It's like this feedback loop.
He's a good general, though.
I mean, I guess we don't see that much of it on screen. I mean, obviously he's very smart.
What about in history?
You see him trick people. Well, no, I'm talking about the character on Xena, not Caesar.
But you're supposed to have, the actual historical Caesar inferred within...
But what do you actually see of him? I don't know how amazing his strategies are as a military commander.
On the show?
Mostly gets his ass kicked, let's be honest.
I still feel like you're supposed to assume that he's really good based on, the history.
But I feel like, he has it wrong. He says, I'm great. I am secretly great, and you're a thug. And I think Xena is actually someone who can be truly great, and Caesar's a thug.
But she's not there yet. That's the thing. She actually is a thug. That's what's brilliant about this.
But Malila sees.
Well, the next part of this date is a bunch of sexual metaphors.
Yep.
Oh my god, I felt so embarrassed for everyone. I just was like, no guys, no, don't do it. No, oh, she likes it. Oh god. Then also the sexy way she was caressing that pole.
That was my favorite part. I felt like she didn't know what to do with her hands.
What do I do with my hands?
And it was just especially weird because she's talking about Amphipolis. She's talking about a warlord attacked my village.
Caress.
Caressing this pole. You're like, girl, that's your traumatic backstory.
Well, maybe it says a lot about her at this point in her life where she no longer feels that
she's
origin,
forgotten Cortez because so have we.
He had the masks, right? Oh, he bejeweled those masks just like she made her outfit here.
I did actually want to bring up Death Mask because this is clearly
you miss her brother Taurus.
I miss Hercatorus. No, because we talked about this. Death Mask was so bad at doing this stuff. Yeah. It also wanted to explain why and where. Why is Xena
that was the original title of this episode. Why and where.
Why and where. It was asking those questions too in the stupidest possible way. So what I love is that this episode kind of throws that out, never mentions most of that business ever again, and just kind of lays down a new origin story for Xena. Not exactly invalidating Cortez, but just saying what happened with Cortez was just a step in a long process.
I was going to say, it's it levels up.
Yeah. And also, because of that, it means that Caesar is just a step. The real answer to why is, it's complicated. You can't point to any one moment in Xena's life and say, this is why she is who she is. She's a sum of many experiences.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you can to, Callisto, let's say.
Yeah, well, that's because Callisto is that kind of damaged, and also because Callisto just refused to have any other kind of experience ever again, whereas Xena has been kind of open to trying new things. Yeah.
Good cover. I'm just listening. It's good. It's good stuff.
Some enemies are harder than others. We can't leave without saying that.
I count on it.
Well, Xena and Caesar.
I would have just thrown him overboard immediately. Just bye!
Oh my god.
Okay, so it cuts to a beautiful shot of the sun setting.
Excuse me, we didn't confirm the fact that they fuck. Because they do.
They fucked.
Do you really have any doubts?
No, but it just needs to be said.
Okay, they fuck.
Yep.
Then we cut to a beautiful shot of the sun setting and a beautiful dissolve to Xena bathing herself in money, which is fantastic. It almost looks like she's offering it to the sun. She's just sort of raising it above her head. But actually, she's totally not interested in the money. The money isn't what's important to her in the scene, which I think is a great just acting moment for Lucy. That it's it's blocked this way with her, like, literally, like, washing her face with gold coins, but yet she doesn't care. That's not why she's here.
Caesar's leaving.
Caesar's leaving.
That's right. Brutus #1 gets his boy.
And I love that the way also this is blocked with them kissing, like giving their little goodbye kiss. You can see the Romans behind their heads, like kind of just waiting, like looking at their watches, which I think immediately undercuts any romance that this moment might have. Not that Xena's aware of any of that, but it does not feel like a grand romantic send-off at all, in part because Caesar's like, I'll be thinking of nothing but you, in a really threatening way that she does not pick up on at all.
She is being such a girl about this. It's like crazy unexpected, but I love it. I love anything that's like unexpected about Xena. That's what makes her an amazing character, and that's what makes the show amazing.
We know that Xena, like all very like emotionally controlled people, like when her emotions get the better of her, she's like done. She just has zero ability to like moderate herself.
No chill.
So yeah. She's done. And I think everybody around her is basically quietly telling her, you know, maybe you shouldn't trust the guys you just ransomed. Like, maybe this isn't, like, a great deal to be trying to strike. You don't have the upper hand anymore. But, like, she just, no.
She's full-blown. She's like, but we talked about it, and he's going to conquer the world, and I'm going to help him. Totally cool with that.
And then they fist bump goodbye. Or, like, fist bump from a distance. I don't know what that is. Like chest thing.
It's the Roman salute.
It's a Roman salute?
Well, according to this show, it is. And they continuously do it later on.
I mean, to me, it's very, like, macho. And I feel like even the way Xena does it, it's sort of like, oh, LOL, we're being dudes
I think it's important to point out, how Xena does it, which is, like, not in a legit way.
She reminded me like a little kid being like, ooh, is this what we do where you're from? Ooh,
yeah,
I'd like to do it too.
It was really great acting with that salute.
Really cute.
So she goes back to the ship, and now Rob Tapert treats us to a ocean montage.
I love it.
He would, wouldn't he? This definitely is a Rob Tapert episode when there's a lot of loving shots of fish.
I didn't even think of that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He's just like, can we have 2 minutes where we just like look at some fish and they're just really beautiful? We can have someone singing over the fish and you're just like,
you know how time is passing while we're watching these whales go
Do you know how we get to fish? We go on a boat. Oh, let's look at the boat some more.
And yeah, Lucy can be there too.
All things that Rob loves.
But I do think that there is some symbolism happening here because, like, I was thinking about this, and we've often said on the podcast that fire is Callisto's element. It's always associated with her. Could Xena's be
fish?
Well,
be water, be the ocean. You know, always changing, but
always
the
pond.
There.
She started off with her pond
the
metaphor.
Pond, yeah. So I think all of these shots, which are dissolves from Xena to the water and back, she seems to be becoming water. Like water is her in this montage.
I love this.
This is also going to be important at the end of the episode. I will come back to this.
Put a pin in it.
Okay.
I hope someone's collecting all the pins we never unpin.
I think we've unpinned most
We could do a separate podcast of just unpinning
just the pins.
The drop pins.
So basically, like, I guess she's on the ship for a while. And
but not that long. Just long enough for Caesar to, like, raise some people and come find her.
That night?
No. Maybe a few weeks. Long enough for her to be really good friends with Malila.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't think that, like, you totally get that from the episode. It really did kind of look like it was a passage of like 6 hours.
I agree with
Malila has her pendant back.
Because there's a scene that was cut out and we don't see that.
Yeah.
However, like what we do see is that there's 6 hours went by and it's now sunset. We didn't mention Malila's song, which was happening while the fishies were going.
Yes, my Raya Yarborough realness.
Explain to us.
Bear McCreary's wife. And thus often appears on shows where, I mean, obviously she has her own career, but she's probably sung on BSG.
I think she's that voice in the, the credit song.
Perhaps. Maybe not, though. Yeah. The more relevant thing here is Outlander, to me.
Right, which also would be, like, stealing from this pool of kind of Gaelic music.
Yeah, she sings the opening theme in there. Yeah, it's really
beautiful.
beautiful.
Is a traditional Gaelic song.
Yes.
That Malila is singing.
So it's about directions around an island?
Yes.
Because they're on a boat?
It's like for sailors to remember how to navigate, yes, to navigate like around this island, right?
Yeah. Western Cross of the Clergy, Western Cross of Solace, Black Mountain of Solace, Height of Moran.
Okay, you would never sort of know that unless you know Gaelic, but like the way that, you know, the emotion of the song felt nostalgic, I guess.
Yeah.
To me, I guess it's from the movie Brooklyn, where there's like this beautiful moment where they sing like a traditional Irish song and everybody, all the transplanted Irish Americans, start crying because they're homesick. So like I thought this was a really interesting moment where she's like, you know, singing. I mean, it is about directions, which is interesting.
Right, and yeah, navigating a specific place, like the coast.
So I think it is interesting. She's homesick. Like her home is not the land of the pharaohs.
But maybe it's also
Gaul.
the land of the pharaohs. She's singing about Gaul because, you know, she doesn't really know where else to sing.
I think she was a young child who was brought there, so she like was raised in Gaul. I think Gaul is her home.
That's where she got her t-shirt.
Yeah, made in Gaul.
So then at the end of this beautiful musical number, you see a gorgeous image of Caesar's boat in the distance. That's sort of when the music ends, is on this image of a ship coming nearer. And I love that Xena's super excited and it's like, oh, you know, draw up alongside this boat, yay!
We're totes gonna conquer the world together, guys. It's totally cool.
And I love that Malila, who doesn't speak Greek, you know, just expresses herself so eloquently with just like shaking her head.
Yeah, oh gosh, she's like red flags all around.
Like, girl, don't you dare! What are you thinking?
I know. I also love that, like, you don't understand her, but the only thing you do understand is Caesar. Whenever she says that, it's like you know what she's talking about. The ships meet in the night.
This is actually the standout sequence of the entire episode to me, which is funny to say because there's much more sort of dramatic, spectacular kind of set pieces, but something about the editing and the very careful and rigorous way in which this was staged, like Xena crossing the gangplank and Caesar crossing the gangplank and meeting, and you see in the wide shot exactly like what direction each of them is going in and who's in between them, and like the cuts of them like getting nearer and nearer to each other, and you see their feet.
Yeah,
like
the
these parallel close-ups
sandals.
of their sandals. I just love the way it built the tension. And I mean, this is definitely like heavy with dramatic irony. Like we all know how this is going to work out for Xena. We know Julius Caesar didn't conquer the world with Xena warrior princess.
You don't know that.
Actually, in this universe,
you don't know that. Like for real.
Yeah, but I feel like this entire time we've known he's bad news. Xena doesn't know, but it's clear to us almost from the moment you see this guy that he's not that into you.
We don't know that. Again, so much of what's later going to be revealed to have happened in 10 years ago mode, none of us knew. You didn't know about Solon. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know, but
who knows? There could have been an interlude where she hung out with Caesar a lot and then he betrayed her.
Yeah, but particularly this tense moment where they're reconnecting and everybody's like, should I be taking out my sword? And Xena's like, no, put it away. You just know it's going to end
I know, yes.
Everything about this screams bad idea.
Yeah, it does, but you're just not sure. I do think that this whole exchange seemed like it was filmed like a wedding ceremony.
I thought of that. Well, there's the wonderful moment where she lowers her veil or her hood.
Yeah, she's for some reason like why in this moment like she decides to greet him.
It feels
with,
sort
like,
of ritualistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that very deliberately they're slowly getting nearer to each other like a parade, and the fact that she sort of unmasks. Now I trust you. You can see me. And then they sort of circle each other like big cats again. It's sort of an embrace, almost.
But call me Admiral Akbar, because it's a trap!
Oh,
good one. Caesar grabs her, has a knife at her throat, and he's like, this is my destiny, you're a part of it, and I'm a part of yours.
Which actually is kind of the most romantic line he has said to her. And the most sincere.
Carl Urban said Caesar was probably in love with Xena for like 15 minutes. So when do you think the 15 minutes were?
I don't think they've happened yet.
They haven't happened yet. I agree.
Yeah.
What?
I agree.
When would they happen?
I think
I don't know.
later he has more reason to respect her.
Yeah.
And
When
fear her.
Like in later episodes?
We'll find
later
out.
in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened yet. He's underestimated her. That's his whole thing, is that he thinks she's just this woman who he can kind of fuck one night and then she's his. Like, he just doesn't get it.
So we'll put a pin in Caesar's feelings.
Yeah. I do love that, she's like, what about us? What about our plans?
Yeah.
And it's like, there was no us, Xena.
And there truly never was.
No, there really wasn't. And he says, there's only Rome, and I am Rome, which means just me.
This is what I'm talking about. His lines are amazing.
Yeah.
He's awful. It's just so great. And another example of Xena's reaction of being like, typical lady. She's
That's true. Being like, what about us?
Yeah, she's scorned by a guy.
That's standard breakup line. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to see Xena this way. That's why it's so amazing. I like that Xena protects Malila because Caesar's like, where's the slave?
Because he's a smart guy. This is, in a way, one of the smartest moments for him, is we know that he really registered Malila and knows she's important too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Xena's like, I killed her because I hate
She
people who betrayed me.
She betrayed me! Yes. In a very pointed way.
Oh my god, you guys. I have a note that just says, sad bitch.
Oh.
Xena.
I do love Caesar's parting line, which is, you'll have a special place of honor among my conquered.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what every girl wants to hear. Gonna crucify you, baby, and you're gonna get the nicest spot.
Oh my god. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how that was also revealed. Like, the whole crucifixion, because it's just a walk and talk on the beach between Caesar and
gorgeous.
Brutus.
This was, again, wonderful Rob choices
Yeah.
in how to stage this scene. It is gorgeously handled.
I completely agree. I absolutely love it. And also, again, continuing the lines of Caesar being like the worst dick ever.
This is one of my favorite of Caesar's lines.
I love it.
And it kind
so
of
much.
hangs over the rest of the show, too. This idea that, what is it? Divide and conquer. Divide a woman's emotion from her sensibilities, and you have her.
Yep.
And, the fact that he lumps Xena in with all women, that this is how you can emotionally destroy a woman, is immediately kind of offensive. I was so angry. But at the same time, this is exactly what he did do, is he roused her emotion. I mean, Xena's a smart lady.
But we already know that you can get her by doing just that, no matter what.
Yeah. And that herself is divided in this way. That she has the smart, calculating aspect of her personality, but then this emotional part that she doesn't really understand.
Cannot control.
Yeah.
So just as he says that, it's the big reveal that she's on a cross.
Yeah, he says, you have her, which is such a creepy, sexist, icky line. And
like extra
the reveal
creepy.
is she's there prone on a cross at his feet.
Yeah.
It's so humiliating. Yeah.
It's epic. They raise the cross, so it's our first
I love this shot.
cross raising.
Oh, it's so good. Do they actually use the same shot again later?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I thought this particular choice of putting the camera behind her head on the cross and watching, like, the sky zoom past.
There's another version of a similar shot, but it's a different time that they made Lucy do the crucifixion scenes that she loved to shoot so much.
Will tell you that they did not do it just once.
Now, Vera, I remember when we watched this in the rewatch, and you were so surprised that all of this stuff, Caesar crucifying, that it all enters the show this early.
Yeah.
Mid-season 2. You were like, what? Already?
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about like them starting this long-form storytelling. Like having Xena on that cross and kind of associating that cross with like Xena's personal hell, which is a big thing for the character and continues to be a big thing from this episode onward. Like, this is huge. This is really important imagery.
Would you say that her two most defining moments were her brother dying in Amphipolis and this?
I mean, again, I guess
there are a lot of
I
moments.
continue to not subscribe to the idea that there's like, a number one most important thing that made her her. But this obviously to her felt important, and she clearly returns to it as a big moment for her.
I think you can, at the end of the day, you can boil down her two modes, her initial warlording days and then her later warrior princess conquests can be boiled down to those two events. I do think that this is like so significant just because like later on, you know, she comes back to it over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it is something that
psychology
it makes
goes.
a huge impression on her. And I think it's almost like a symbol, like Jungian this, and like this idea of being helpless and nailed to this cross and dying, and you can't save yourself. I feel like this feeling is very important to her and is sort of like rock bottom for her.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, you know, Xena mythologizes, like, this moment in her life, obviously, because here she is remembering it and being like, this explains me, you know? But, like, I think she's misinterpreted it. She has it all wrong. She thinks of Caesar as the man who made her and kind of ignores Malila, even though Malila's influence is just as key, if not way more.
I don't really see it that way, but that I may be in the minority. I do think that, like, the thing that really stands out is Caesar. I think Malila, I just don't think there's enough to show of her influence. What we see in the episode is like 3 scenes with her.
I think Malila is like the path not taken. You know, Malila was offering her something better than Caesar, and Xena couldn't see it. Like, Xena couldn't see kind of this other path, this like
what
gentler...
was she offering her?
Well, I mean, we don't know.
See, because it's not on screen.
Malila didn't learn Greek to like talk to her, but you felt that this was a real relationship built on trust. And, like, learning together and, like, being true partners. Malila is clearly, like, imagines some kind of different fate for Xena than what happens. I don't think Malila would be happy with Xena's, now it's only about death. Like, that is not what I think Malila was trying to get across to her at all. I mean, we do know that from the dream sequence at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I do think this is almost like Xena has 2 choices. She has Caesar, and she has Malila. She has Dick, and she has Badge. And
okay.
Dick is about,
She's still on the path of Dick.
selfishness. It's about conquest. It's about violence.
Yeah.
It's about brutality and deception. And Veg is about forgiveness. And it's about love. And it's about redemption. And it's about learning.
Yeah.
And Xena can't really appreciate it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But maybe 10 years ago in season 3. I think you have a really good point. I don't think that the episode gave us enough Malila to actually kind of prove this, because this is like all inferred and that's totally okay, but like what you saw was Caesar and his influence.
Yeah.
And
well, I think for Xena, even now, like Xena remembering this stuff, it's Caesar that had the big impact. So even like in her memory, he's important, and Malila's kind of this enigmatic figure on the edges. Because I don't think Xena, even now, realizes like what her mistake was here. Her mistake wasn't just like turning evil because a man spurned her. It was being interested in that man to begin with.
Yes, that's very correct. But again, like as far as Malila goes, I don't even like. It's a little confusing, even like what her deal was.
No, we don't. We don't.
Because she also talks to Xena about her destiny, and she seems to know what Xena's destiny is. But like,
unfortunately,
why?
It seems like her destiny
what
may be to die protecting Xena.
No, but she's talking about Xena's destiny.
Well,
like,
Xena
she knows what it is. Like, but why does she know that? Like, what's going on there?
She's magic.
Right.
She's a really cool character that you do wish maybe... Lucy Lawless has a quote that she thought this episode should have been 2 parts.
And I agree.
Yeah. I think definitely
we should have had a part with Caesar. We should have had a part with Malila. And you were even
saying, Vera, that, I mean, like, there was a cut scene of Malila teaching Xena martial arts. I mean, I don't know if that really would have helped.
It would have helped.
More info,
it would have helped portray their relationship as, like, getting closer and closer, because right now literally she's like the stowaway that Xena has like an interest in because she teaches her cool stuff, but only we see the pinch, we don't see anything else. You know, she keeps her around, like it's a vague interest, but they're not like, she shouldn't be jumping in front of an arrow for her, like we don't, that's crazy. She just met her, really.
She knows she's in the show Xena Warrior Princess.
I mean, I would.
As soon as you meet her.
Yeah, it's true.
So we've kind of wandered into the reads, but Where are we in the plot?
She has just been put on the cross.
Oh, yeah.
She's on the cross, and her brother is going to break her legs.
Oh, man, yeah, that actor who breaks her legs is her brother.
Yeah.
I bet he had the greatest time doing that. I know my brother would love to break my legs.
Also, Xena is referred to in this scene as that barbarian woman.
Yes.
Which I believe would be accurate as like a Roman opinion of a character from Thrace, which is where Amphipolis is, which is definitely a fact that I learned from Spartacus.
Ooh, yeah.
But you read like a whole book about Spartacus.
I read it in the book Spartacus, but it's also like in the show Spartacus.
It's at least implied in the show. Yeah.
But I did read it. Yes, I learned it from a book.
I have a line about the line of crucified people on the beach and that the production values are amazing. It looks like they did do at least a few other crucified extras, which is fucking amazing.
It looked so
Those poor
epic.
extras.
I know.
Yeah. But like the point was that, Caesar did this because this was unexpected.
Right. This
and
isn't the way you would treat prisoners normally.
Yes.
And he says it would define him, which I thought was an interesting choice of words in this episode where we're talking about what defines Xena. Like Caesar, too, is sort of doing this, like, myth-making. He's saying, here's how I became me. Like, everyone will know me by my crucifying.
But it's cool. I mean, like, he would take care of the, pirates that have been plaguing the coast, plaguing Roman interests.
Scare tactics.
Like, it works out for him because he takes all their money. And we know that he is the one from the triumvirate who is low on funds.
Yeah, and here he is. He uses the money to finance a campaign. Yeah. So Xena directly does end up being a partner to his greatness, just not in the way she wanted.
She was part of his destiny.
She's like his producer.
I forget where I read this. Was it on Whoosh about the fact that they break the legs so they would die faster?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like...
They suffocate.
I didn't know that that's like why. I thought, like when you're watching the show, you're like, oh, he did it to be a dick. To be extra.
Which, to be fair, he would do.
Yeah, but no, it's like actually like to help kill them faster.
I loved...
Look how gentle he is.
The way that was shot to push in on the hammer coming down on her leg. You don't see the impact, obviously, which I think was the right choice. You just have her scream to sell it. And then there's this wonderful dissolve sort of from the kind of geometry of Xena on the cross to these two mountain peaks kind of meeting, like in a V. And it looks the same geometry. Nice. So again, beautiful, slightly artistic filmmaking decisions by Rob.
Well, the leg breaking shot I think is their standard technique of you would start close to the legs and then move backwards and then they reverse the shot. That's how they do the arrows, catching the arrows real in front of your face and stuff like that.
Right, because it's very hard to halt a swing next to a foot.
So it works visually really well.
Yeah, it looks really great. You really feel it, her scream. All of her kind of pain and anguish this episode to me felt very
oh my God,
realistic
the later part.
And brutal.
Ooh,
yeah, we're heading into
great
great
territory.
Rather tour de force ending, I would say.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So she's hanging on the cross. It's nighttime. She's super depressed. she's been conquered.
Yeah.
Here comes Malila rescuing her.
Beats off some guards and then whistles for her horse.
Oh yeah, so Xena took everything. She never taught her how to properly train a horse with a whistle.
Yeah, I do. I do wish that this was 2 parts because I really feel like this is a very interesting and great character and a good relationship, and it deserved a little bit more screen time because I feel like at the end of the day, it kind of makes me slightly uncomfortable that she took all this stuff from this character.
I mean, it makes me uncomfortable too, but there is a part of me that kind of likes the way that you don't know very much. That adds to the tragedy is you look at this person and say, I wish I knew more. I wish I asked more questions. Xena didn't even get her name until that last scene.
Yeah.
So I feel that. I feel that from Xena's perspective that this is someone who she just didn't do right by at all. And also talking about the cultural appropriation of this woman's stuff, which is obviously a very topic du jour now, is how do do you treat, these instances when you have a white person just taking things wholesale from a person of color. And I feel like this is interesting in Xena because Malila is sort of forgotten. She's like a ghost figure. And like Xena has her symbol on her chest all the time. Like this character hangs over the show and yet sort of isn't, we know nothing about her.
The impact of something that massive should stick more than I think it lands in this episode.
Yeah, so it's weird. The show is doing something very bad that I think now cultural critics would say, like, this is not how you should treat a character. Yeah. But at the same time, the show is almost like doing it in a way where it's like, we know this is bad. Like, this is what Xena did. Xena is this white hero who took all her cool tricks from this other person who now is not Xena Warrior Princess. This person has died and is forgotten. And, like, that is how so much of, like, colonialism works, which is why people came in and took stuff and said, it's mine now. No one's going to remember that you had it.
Yikes. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
We don't have any more coins.
We're out of coins.
We ran out.
I'm just going to shake the jar.
There we go.
Good job.
Oh, now we have some amazing intercutting, right, of Gabrielle finally reaching her destination, which is Nicleo's house. Nicleo, actor, was last seen in Dreamworker as the guy who wanted to give Gabrielle to the sleep god Morpheus.
I knew he looked familiar. He has this great plummy English accent, which is fun.
And so it's like Nicleo with like black hair and Malila bringing Xena there, and then it's Gabrielle and Nicleo with like the silver hair.
This is another amazing thing that Rob does really well, and I'm sure is partially there in the script, which is bringing those two plot threads together. Gabrielle in the present day bringing Xena to Nicleo with Malila bringing Xena to Nicleo, and that you even see like this is the same door, like they just went through it and now Gabrielle's knocking out. And you have a sense of kind of, the episode gearing up for its final beat and you're excited.
Yeah, and as far as the editing goes, it's like you don't know which, like you get confused, like you're watching, you're like, oh, what? Oh, and then because it like all is basically like one continuous motion.
Yeah. Which kind of goes with like where Xena's at mentally, right? She's like 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the present.
And it can get confusing. Yeah, it's really cool. My favorite line from Nicleo is that Xena is on this litter and she has like, I don't know, blankets or something all up on her. And he looks at her and he's like, her organs are swelling from internal bleeding.
It probably smells bad.
Oh my God. Oh. So in the past, we're back in the past now where he does do some good medicines. He sets her legs. And
that's an amazing cut. I got really excited about it, and you were really excited about it too. So go ahead and talk about it.
Oh my God. She's like upside down, like her head is like upside down basically, like with the camera like right in her face. And it's like he sets the leg and there's just this amazing scream.
Cutting from Xena in the present being like very stoic, being like, it's okay, just let me go, to her in the past screaming like a motherfucker. Like I thought was just a really good choice. You see these two different sides of Xena.
Yeah, I didn't mention this before when Malila cut her off the cross, but I really love how she falls down on the broken feet. Like there's like a ragdoll quality about Lucy's giant limbs.
This is a very physical performance this episode.
Yeah.
She really kills at it. Yeah.
He's like, I set your legs, and then he puts like
the acupuncture needles
in there, and she's like, those are cool.
Yeah, she's like, those are fascinating.
Yeah, and
also she's like, teach me all you know.
Yeah, there you go. See, she probably picks up a lot of like cool healing stuff.
I bet.
From some cut scenes.
Between these two people, she just learns every single thing she knows.
Oh boy.
Yep. Don't forget about Lama.
Oh, and
yeah. Oops. There's a really cute moment where Malila touches her head and Xena wakes up. And again, based on like what we've seen in the episode, it was like a random cute moment because you're like, what? Okay, she's touching her head now. But I guess you're supposed to infer that they're a lot closer now than they were.
I also saw on Whoosh that someone said that the word that Malila keeps using to refer to Xena, which now, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you what the word was. It translates in Gaelic to beloved.
Oh.
So.
Wish we had more scenes. And so she asks, via Nicleo translating, she asks Xena if she feels anger towards Caesar.
What does Xena say?
Well, before she could say anything, the Centurion guard busts in.
What do you think she would have said? See, this is my decisive moment. Like, maybe I feel like Malila was guiding Xena towards the path of forgiveness. She was like, don't be hung up on this man. He doesn't matter. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
But, like, because Malila never got to, like, teach her that life lesson, Xena did get hung up, and she does feel so much anger.
But also, it's that thing that happens to Xena, which is, like, if she starts caring about someone who's, like, female or her brother...
That's a really confusing line.
And they're killed, and she loses her shit.
Yeah.
And this is what happens.
That is what happens.
So, Malila, for sure, just jumps right in front of an arrow and dies in Xena's arms.
And Xena, like, touches her face, which is sweet. Xena's really shocked by this.
Yeah, no, it's, like, it is shocking.
Yeah, because she really doesn't know Malila well at all, and I guess didn't realize she was worth this. I mean, yeah, Xena's self-esteem isn't very high.
Right, because she's like, it's not your destiny to die here.
Right.
Which, again, is so confusing because, like, I don't know, what is their relation? What is Malila doing?
If not now, then when?
Right. Well.
Cut to.
She dies in the present.
Yeah, this intercutting is all spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to really get into it, but, like, Xena fighting off these guys, like, in... I think maybe the most brutal and violent ways that we've seen on the show. Certainly,
I think that's Rob.
Yeah.
Rob loves it.
No,
guys, so do I. Thanks, Rob.
Background in film thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like the guy who gets his face burnt off.
Yeah.
Fire, Callisto's element. So here you go. Xena using fire now. She's been turned away from the water.
Also, that was, like, epic. Like... That dude, he has like a charred face. Yeah. They show him twice.
Yeah, Rob cuts back to him, which is great. I think he cuts from Gabrielle crying over present-day Xena to Xena sensuously murdering a guy to this other guy, like, staggering around with his face burnt off, and it is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth mentioning that the full-blown warrior princess music starts going.
Which is interesting, because, I mean, we have the warrior princess music for, like, bad Xena as well as good Xena. But, like, it is interesting to have this, like, heroic music that usually signifies Xena doing something, great.
Because the first time you hear that music's on Hercules, and she's warrior princess.
A badass lady.
And that's, like, where it was created.
I guess I'm thinking of, like, Xena Scrolls, where it was played being like, look,
well,
it's Xena!
She, like, appropriated back to being for good.
But yeah, here it's really effective. And, it's fun. I feel like the music is exciting, but the things you're seeing are not exactly exciting. They are scary.
They're fucking scary and amazing. Yeah. She uses her, like, broken legs to kick dudes.
It gives me, like, the...
shivers.
Just to think about it freaks me out.
I think there was one time where she did it and then she, like, winced. But then after that, she felt no pain. Because of her rage. She stabs a guy with, like, a dagger, right?
Yeah.
Then she burns that one guy, as we mentioned. Then the most epic, I thought, was the guy who she put the pinch on the neck, and then, like, used his sword hand and his sword to slit his throat. And what was her facial expression, if not Callisto's orgasm face?
Murdergasm, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, the fire on the guy's face, and now Callisto murdergasm face, like... Yeah. That's who she's become.
Yep. Then she also uses her hair to hit one guy in the face.
Yeah, that wasn't the greatest.
Listen, I said she can utilize all the tools available.
Oh, it's also worth mentioning that 10 years ago, I love that her hair is super long.
Yeah.
That's like a look that is continuous for knowing where you are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Having helpful hair is always great for flashbacks, and this is,
it's less good for flash forward.
It's usually less good for flash forwards. I feel like it actually makes her look a little more kind of ancient.
Yeah.
Like Xena has hip 90s hair, and in present day, and in the past it's a little more
70s hair.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, the one wonderful emotional thing that really happens here with this cutting between Xena, like, going to the dark side, and Gabrielle weeping over Xena dying is that you begin to draw like a direct correlation. You feel like Gabrielle is pleading with Xena of the past not to do these horrible things. And I think that is so moving as a way of kind of dramatizing the effect that Gabrielle always has on Xena, which is to, kind of pull her back from those kinds of urges.
But as Xena herself says, a new Xena is born.
With a new purpose in life. Death.
Yikes.
I love the face she makes. She, snaps that guy's neck.
Her, weird, demented glee.
It's a really good face, that's all.
I feel like this, moment is definitely her almost playing on the sort of rhetoric that Caesar used, about power and greatness. But where with Caesar it was always me and Rome and sort of this nationalistic thing. I feel like Xena takes it and just goes straight nihilism. She's just life has no meaning. I will do everything Caesar does, but just to kill people. And I love that she's also gives this whole speech from her bed, sitting on the bed with this guy kind of prone in front of her. I feel like it's a cool image.
Between her legs.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's something a bit sexual about it. And also just something she's on her sickbed. Yeah. And yet she just did this to this guy and is declaring death to be her purpose in life.
Nick Cleo basically said she has Wolverine's powers of recuperation.
Yeah, it's true.
So she's fine now. I think it's really important to note, and this is based on my interpretation, where Caesar is her maker here, that this episode starts with Callisto and her revisiting Callisto and how she made Callisto. And we have this ending where, because of Caesar, he made her.
She's reborn here on the sickbed as this other person.
Right.
So then Xena in the present day dies.
Yep.
And her shiny soul spirit.
Okay, wait, is this number 2 of Xena death?
Yeah.
Or is number 1 officially?
Number 2.
Okay, yeah. They die a million times.
Greater good is number 1?
Greater good is number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her spirit flies out of her body and goes to, how would we describe this amazing
We
sequence?
describe it as the opposite of that amazing beach crucifixion scene.
Yeah. And the opposite of probably whatever cool
was supposed
conceptual thing it was supposed to be. I'm sure it's
it's leftover setting of where the harpies live.
Yeah.
The video game of the harpies.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here and say that I kind of like it.
What? Which part? Okay,
Well,
I allow the setting.
I love the image of the cross, the flying cross,
that's
a
okay.
spaceship.
We can have that.
I thought everything that in this sequence to me read as science fiction. The weird metallic bubbles full of flashbacks.
Okay, nope. You lost me.
I mean, I'm not saying that the execution is great, but I thought, well, definitely that image of the flying cross to me was so crazy and surreal and neat and, a little bit blasphemous to use, Christian imagery in this way where it looks like a fucking spaceship. But, it looked great. It was weird and off-putting in a way that I think really fit with the mood of
What was
the
the
scene.
background?
I think sort of hellish red sky.
Right, so
Like Mars. It's cross landing on Mars.
It's very strange. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I feel like you can see that it was supposed to be this dreamy, weird thing, and then this is what they could do.
I think she's in a lava lamp.
It's kind of maybe.
I think Malila lives in a lava lamp.
Body is for sure little lava lamp bits in a tornado.
Anyway, none of that is what's important about this part.
We're sorry.
Get down to it.
Right, so Xena's on the cross, Malila's tornado body comes up, and she speaks English now.
Yeah, they can understand each other.
They can understand
Yeah,
each
I mean,
other.
she doesn't speak. She just
she hears her,
thoughts.
in English.
Yeah.
So they discuss Xena's destiny, and Malila says that the dead can hear the thoughts of the living.
And
Katie,
at
this
that
is your cue.
point-
Oh, well, then they bring out my favorite trick. The good old montage of Xena Gabrielle clips of just loveliness. Meanwhile, Gabrielle was being very emotional, and I feel like we've been tracking their kind of reactions to each other's melodramatic death scenes. Yeah. And, you know, before we talked about Greater Good, Gabrielle was very stoic at first. Mm-hmm. And then here you have a similar reaction to Xena in Is There a Doctor in the House? And she does this big speech where you feel like in the middle of it, she's kind of saying, I have this feeling if I lose you, there's this like emptiness that I'm scared of. And I feel like it's her like really like vocalizing like her love for Xena in this very intense way.
Big time.
Yeah, it's great.
She also says, Xena, above all, just remember your destiny. Remember it and fight.
Episode title.
Yeah. So here's a different destiny for Xena finally laid out. I mean, Malilah's hinting at it, but...
Yeah, Malilah says that it's to fight evil.
Yeah, but I think it's more than that. It's what Gabs says, which is sort of being there for Gabs. That her destiny is by Gabs' side.
Interesting.
It's maybe that future she didn't get to have with Malilah.
Interesting.
Just putting that out there.
I think this episode has a lot of interesting, like, foreshadowing for various other episodes that we just cannot get into because of the spoilers. But maybe we'll put some pins just later.
A lot of pins.
Later we'll hit
destiny, atoning, like relationship stuff, pins.
Apprentices.
Girlfriends. Pin them all. Pin.
So Xena decides to return.
She does indeed decide to return. Whoops.
But she does not.
But she doesn't. Instead, there's just a to be continued title card.
Yeah.
So what's the original? You said there was some schmoopy stuff where she was going to wake up and
she was basically like much like the end of, I guess, Intimate Stranger. This was all supposed to just be resolved in one episode.
Like, what a lot of stuff to cram into one episode. It really should have been 2 parts. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yep. So she would have just returned and they would have schmooped together and faded out on some cuddles. About how they're together gonna go off and do
that's
stuff.
So nice.
This was shot very early in the run too, I think. Mm-hmm. Like maybe it was 2 or 3 of the season. I'm not sure exactly, but early-ish.
She was so active in this one. Yeah. Like I remember when we watched it, like without knowing the thing, it was like, what?
Yeah. Right.
Because she did so much. She did like literal horse galloping, like not her like horse riding double, and fighting and like running and being crucified. All sorts of crazy stuff. I do think her injury,
knowing that and watching this, which hinges on sort of believable depiction of her suffering. Yeah. Like it added a layer.
I found it a little harder on rewatch, knowing that was like upcoming. It was a little disturbing. Yeah.
Do you know if they shot this original ending? Is it like the end of Intimate Stranger? I haven't been able to find it.
I mean, I don't know.
They probably
did
shoot it,
but like I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, they needed to end their episode.
Yeah, exactly.
They just cut it.
Yeah, I think they cut it. And I imagine Rob was like, you know what? I'll replace this with just a montage of some fish.
I have a question. Does it like zoom up at all, like at the end when?
No, I think
or is it just up high?
It just stays up
it's like a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would have zoomed back down and she would have woken up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That often happens. I could see that. Yeah,
that seems right. That's what it would have been. But instead, we just get this to be continued title card, and it will be continued.
That was a really big episode of this show.
This is a huge one. And, it has such a, ripple effect. Like, so many plot lines emerge out of this. And I do think it's very just, influential tonally with, big event episodes, like The Debt.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You feel like this is kind of setting up this sort of... you hate this word, Katie, but, the cinematic one-off.
Sure.
Making a little movie with kind of a different setting and these very high production values. I think this is something Xena begins to play with quite a lot.
Yeah, and then as far as the series goes, I mean, they needed to have this episode, they needed to sort of fix Death Mask situation.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to remember Death Mask after this.
Yeah, they shouldn't remember it in general, but this was a lot.
Yeah. And it's setting up, I think, in a very confident way that 10 years ago plotline. Yeah. And I think now you have a lot of sympathy for the Xena who's coming out of that business with Caesar. And we're curious to see what she gets up to next.
We sure are, and we will find out soon enough. So I guess we're done with this one.
We are?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know what the next part is. You can follow us on all the things.
We're on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod. Follow us on Facebook and Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast. We're on iTunes. That is where you should go and listen and subscribe. And please rate and leave a review. If you're liking what you're hearing, it really helps other people find the podcast. And yeah.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.